This is John Swayze. I play the role of All for One in My Hero Academia. And I want you to go watch The Lion's Den on YouTube.
Hey y'all, this is Justin Briner, the voice of Deku from My Hero Academia. And thank you so much for watching The Lion's Den. Keep it up. Plus Ultra!
Foremost, welcome to Infinite Abilities, incorporating diversity and accessibility into costumes here at New York Comic Con 2021. Before I begin, I want to just note that recording it in VR, which will be available after the show online for people who aren't here. And I want to thank New York Comic Con for having us here. Because this is our 5th year doing this panel here. From that, I'll start with introductions. My name's Joseph Monasteri. I'm a disability advocate, and cosplayer, and builder. I'll pass the mic around and have everyone else introduce themselves.
Testing, can you hear me? Okay, great. Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is Justin Santiago. I go by the Lionheart in the cosplay community. I'm dressed as Fat Gum. I am a disabilities advocate part-time, and I am a content creator. It is very nice to see all of you.
Hello everybody, my name is Dylan. I go by Dylan Dozen Fingers or Dozen Fingers Photography. I'm cosplaying Captain Jack Assassin from Black Flag. And is there something else I was supposed to say, or that's it? Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Dune. I'm a builder for Magic Wheelchair. It's a nonprofit organization that builds costumes for kids in wheelchairs.
Hello, my name is Patrick Coakley. I am a disability advocate and have had the pleasure to talk about disability policy and comics. You can follow me at angry_negro on Twitter to hear any foolishness about access and nerd stuff.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Coakley. Let's see, pronouns are she, hers. Is this a work thing?
It's not really working.
So let's see, my favorite nerddoms are Legos, and more Legos. Legos are cheaper than therapy, so it works really well. Not much cheaper, depending on what you like. And I'm a political strategist by day and a philanthropist. And this is stuff that we care about.
Now, since we have the introductions underway, I want to mention that if you go to NYCCsurvey.com, I created a survey over the past few years of doing this con, where if you want to provide feedback, in addition to the New York Comic Con survey that they put out every year, you can submit open-ended responses that I'll make sure that it gets sent directly to the Repop team. And yeah, so again, that's nyccsurvey.com. And now from that, each of us are gonna share a story about cosplay and how it taught us life skills, help the community, and improved accessibility. Justin, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Okay. I didn't want to scream at anybody right now, so. Okay. So cosplay for me was a very pivotal thing in my life. It's actually my anniversary. I've done this for 10 years. When I first started this, thank you guys. The first time I did this, I was socially awkward. I am learning about myself and my identity, being autistic. And being able to dress up in a costume and be a character tells you to be this other person. It helps you to see another part of yourself that you didn't realize that was hidden inside of you. And I thought to myself, wow, if this confidence and courage and ability to speak to other people and make friends, and like cosplay is such an amazing technique. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna go to school, do recreational therapy, and help, no matter what age group, show them how cosplay can benefit it and how you can use those techniques from the conventions and put it to your outside life. And I swear, I've seen so much improvement that cosplay builds on creativity while being free to be yourself. For people with disabilities of all ages, using their imagination can open up their minds to possibilities that can be used in the everyday life. And I am so grateful, and I got to be best friends with a lot of these people right here on the stage.
He summed it up pretty well. I don't know. I'm gonna follow that. You got. No, like cosplay. I mean, cosplay for me is a way of life. I mean, it's it's the only way I know how to cope and be who I am. Especially amongst my fellow cosplayers and my friends and stuff. I've had people who weren't in cosplay communities or in the scene, and telling me, people who cosplay are strange and need mental help and all this, and I'm like, actually, cosplaying is the mental help. So to me, it just means it's very it helps. Everything helps. Are we talking about disabilities yet, or that later? If I want. Okay, well, my disabilities that I have, because when I tell people, oh, I'm a part of a panel that talks about disabilities, they're like, oh, well, you don't have a disability. People that don't understand disabilities can be internal, not just external. So the ones I have are, I'm diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, and that comes with like ADD, ADHD, and like a whole bunch of other stuff that most people struggle with, anxiety, depression, and things like that. So, but I've been an anti-drug advocate. Like, I don't like taking any drugs and substances or much. So like, I try to function without it. And cosplay, martial arts, creativity. I'm a photographer. I'm an artist. So all these things help me to cope, in my daily lives, and everything that I've learned through doing the things that I do, I apply to every day when I'm not in cosplay. I use these techniques to help me day to day, and it's gotten me where I am. And I'm very grateful for these people.
So for me, a story about cosplay and how it's taught me life skills and stuff. One big thing with being a builder is that it's taught me a lot about thinking outside the box and learning skills about trades, and doing, in addition to building costumes, but doing things like home repair and stuff like that, because we're using a lot of the same tools when building costumes, and as a result, that's helped me with building a community, whether it be helping organize a group of people to meet up and build together, or offering advice on ways to find cost-effective accessibility options within a community for certain problems that might occur. And yeah, as I said, a big thing for me has been community and an outlet to let out stress and such.
Hey guys, so I'm a builder for Magic Wheelchair. This is my second year building for them. 2019 was my first year. I'm part of a makerspace. We got approached to see if we could build a costume for a kid. We said sure. It's been so much fun. Me and my friends basically built this giant car costume around this wheelchair for for this kid. It was like this race car. It was very cool, out of like, you know, PVC, and we laser cut a bunch of things out of coroplast and whatever else. You know, going into it, I thought, you know, oh, this is going to be not a problem. I'm an engineer. We got this. I was very wrong. It was incredibly difficult, and those skills were not as transferable as I had thought. Cosplay is hard, but it's so much fun. It's so worth it. Yeah, I mean, if any of you are interested in doing something like that, you can go to their website, or, you know, come talk to me, and we can get you involved. So, yeah.
Awesome. So this is Patrick. Now I'm like, can you make a Turbo Teen costume? Do you make a random Turbo Teen reference? If you guys aren't old enough to remember a Turbo Teen, yeah, we'll talk a little bit later. It's about a teen turns into a car. Please don't listen to my children. So, one of the things that's super exciting to me about cosplay, especially in the disability space, is the amount of flexibility that comes with it. Like, if you get into comics or any sort of nerd core, we're always looking for characters that resonate with us personally. I'm low vision, so like I remember my dad buying me a lot of Daredevil, and like a lot of Matt Murdock. Be a lawyer, you can be, you can be a hero. That sort of scenario. And just taking that by itself, that can tend to relegate us to a certain set of heroes. Maybe we're Cyborg, maybe you're Oracle, maybe you're Misty Knight, maybe you're Professor X. But what I love about cosplay is that when you take that next step beyond just sort of seeing yourself in the characters, cosplay says that you can be those characters that resonate with you, or you can be any character that resonates with you. So you can decide to be Captain America that day. You can decide to be Maggot, or I don't know, or Cyclops. Who would want to be Cyclops? But you could decide to be Cyclops that day, because cosplay gives you the flexibility. And even better than that, people will meet you where you are because of the way that you're interacting, at least in the best times of that scenario, which I think is super great and super important. Being able to sort of redirect the stereotypes of a character and create an identity, either in yourself or in that character, I think is sort of a key part of what we're looking for as people with disabilities in general. We'd love to sort of dress as our own heroes, go out into the world, and not have people say, how do you manage the world with that disability? But be like, oh, I get it. You're a blind hero in my workplace. Badass. I'm gonna do that next week, or show me how to do what you did.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I have achondroplastic dwarfism, which is the most common form of dwarfism. And it was funny, I asked my very loud and incredibly adorable, incredibly precocious 11-year-old a few minutes before the panel started, what do you think when you see little people on TV dressed as elves? And he kind of gave me a look, and he was like, I don't really like it, because why do we just have to be elves? And growing up, that's why I'm talking about you. And I grew up in a multi-generational family of little people. Like my mom, my mom dated an Ewok for a period of time. I could have had an Ewok as a stepdad. He was not that great. But growing up in the little person community, we had friends that was what they did. Like that was their income every year, was they elved. And it was because in our community that was the option. And I remember when Willow came out, and it being so incredibly powerful because it showed my people with agency. It showed my people with a culture. It showed families that looked like mine. And just, finding in nerd culture average height people that really loved that film was really meaningful to me. It's like, oh wait, you get it too? That's ours. We'll let you borrow it. You can borrow Willow, but that's okay. That's our thing. But I think the thing that's so important about cosplay, it allows you to be what you might not necessarily see. And so I remember 2 years ago when we were here at New York City Comic Con, and we came in the front doors in the Crystal Palace area, and there were 4 wheelchair users that were members of the 501st. And it was really cool like I had never seen guys in chairs with stormtrooper helmets on before. And at the time, both my husband and I worked in the government, so of course I wanted to make some government cracks. So I was like, hey, so like what kind of workers' comp do they give you on the Death Star? And they're like, man, the paperwork's a real bitch. And I was like, yeah, like do you get like what is life like? Like do they give you like job retraining services now? Do you get like a clerical role now? Like what's your, you know, and for my kids who are used to seeing people use wheelchairs other than time, it like didn't even like miss a beat for them.
Yeah,
it was like,
us.
yes. Oh my gosh, you were so amazing.
All the chances for screen time. I need to be relevant.
You know, the last thing I would say about cosplay that I think is really interesting is when you can really flip it on its head. A few years ago at Halloween, somebody rang our doorbell and we had a House Lannister flag outside of our house on Capitol Hill. And I opened my door and there's this dude who's, I'm not kidding you, 6'2", dressed as Tyrion Lannister. And I totally don't think he expected a little person to open the door. So the door opens and he stands there and he's just like, his mouth is agape. And he's dressed as Tyrion, he has the Lannister sigil on, he's got a shield, he's got a scar on his face, and an axe. And I was like, so, like, you're gonna say trick or treat, right? Because you're not getting candy otherwise. And I was like, or is now where we say like, we want the 1.5 man, as opposed to we want the half man? You know, and it was really interesting to me because I remember sitting down afterwards and being like, how do I feel about that? Like there was just an average height dude on my porch dressed as Tyrion Lannister, and I was like, I think that's actually pretty cool because it means that that character resonated so much that, you know, he's become mainstream, and I have my own issues with white dwarf men getting way too much media attention compared to dwarf women and LPs of color. But I just think that that's the power of cosplay, the fact that somebody loves some average height dude on Capitol Hill who probably is a Hill staff or somewhere, loves Tyrion Lannister enough that he dressed up as him for Halloween. And that's awesome. And that's the power of flipping perception.
Perception.
So I don't know if I can top your story, but I do have one other story that I tend to tell at this panel, and it's one that's really true to my heart. Wow, it's hard to believe that it's 5 years ago now, almost 6 years. So about 6 years ago, I was going through a really, really hard time. Maybe it was closer to 5.5. I had just gone through a breakup. But I had made a friend online, and she was all the way out in South Texas, so the opposite side of the U.S. We both did cosplays off of this, based off of this, at the time, this really, really cool comic book called Lock and Key, which is now a TV show on Netflix. And she did one of a costume of depression. And I did one of the characters, which after we met in person for a cosplay meetup, I later did anxiety. When about 2 weeks after we met, she moved here to New York to be with me, and it's been one of the best and most amazing things ever, because in addition to getting a girlfriend, I got a best friend, and someone who's been there to support me, and having autism, that's something that has been, making friends has always been, and maintaining friends has always been incredibly difficult, and realizing that it's 5 years now. It's usually she's here at the panel moderating, but this year she's not here moderating because she actually is over at the Lincoln Center doing seamstress work. But it's really when I talk about the power of community and community building, that's what I mean is we live in the era of the internet. distance is no longer a boundary, and making friends and creating a community. Sorry, I derailed there.
You just introduced yourself. That was your story.
Do you want to talk a bit more about Magic Wheelchair?
Sure. Yeah.
What's the coolest build you've done?
Yeah, so I've done two. The chair one is the one that's finished. I'm in the process of another one now. That is like this makeup counter vanity thing. So that was something I had very little knowledge of going into it. I had to learn quite a bit about makeup and beauty and whatever else. So that was a fun research project. It's in terms of techniques, I'm learning new stuff all the time. The foundation of both of these costumes have pretty much been PVC because it's easy and inexpensive, and you can build it around something pretty easily. But varying from there, when we did the chair the first year, it was this material called coroplast, which we thought was going to be this magic material at the time. And then after cutting it out and getting ready to assemble it, we realized nothing really sticks to it, and that was a problem. But we kind of worked our way around it. We sewed this pretty awesome thing of the car together, and so it looked great in the end. We were able to salvage it, but do your research on that, I guess, is the advice we learned from that. The costume we're working on now, we laser cut a lot out of MDF and masonite. That's been a cool one as well. It's like this desk vanity thing in the front and this nice big mirror in the back with like all these light bulbs. And she's gonna be sitting in the center, so she's like in the mirror. We're really excited to finish up that one. We're pretty much painted everything. We're just in the final stages now. It's a really fun thing to do with your friends. You get to work on this big costume together with all sorts of other people.
That's awesome. Like, one of the things, we get a chance to work with folks with like multiple different types of disabilities, some physical, some invisible, some visible. But for y'all who've been doing like some serious cosplay on the rest of the panel, I want to throw this back. How would you suggest that someone gets started, especially if they have a disability that might give them limited visual acuity or like limited dexterity, where they're worried that they might not be able to do some of the painting or some of the sewing? Like, what do you guys think would be a good place to sort of like as a starting point?
So one of the things that I really emphasize is community building. When it comes to cosplay, one of my favorite parts about it is the building aspect and getting a group of fellow cosplayers in your area together and, hey, let's all meet up and help each other build our costumes, because you are able to pool resources, because not everyone has all the same tools, but also each other knows, everyone has their own skills that they bring to the table, and so that's one thing that can help. Another thing that I've found to be incredibly helpful is there's nothing wrong with getting a pre-built costume. There's also nothing wrong with, as someone else mentioned earlier today, they called it a lazy cosplay, but it's not lazy. It's about being comfortable in your own skin and whatever you want to make make out of it. Cosplay, that's the beauty of cosplay. It is what you make of it. It all starts with coming up with an idea.
A coworker of mine who has integrated cosplay into their daily life. That's actually not a current coworker; it's a coworker at a former position. that I realized was dressing as Jem or Jerica every day at work. It was amazing. Like, there were days that you would come in and she would be very clearly like Jerica in like that sort of like esprit de corps 1980s fashion, like cottons with stripes, really like breathable clothes. And then like you would come in and she would be in a pink asymmetrical dress with like white fishnets and just like chunky heels, and and all the time having pink hair. And it would always, and sometimes it was very Jerica. It was like round brush styled, seamless. And then days you would come in and it was like Cher hair. And I remember like finally sitting there, like going into her office and sitting down and being like, all right, so you're like Jem and Jerica, right? Because like, has anybody else like Showtime synergied you? And it was so funny because she like fell out laughing. This was at a major national progressive nonprofit where she was in charge of, she was a vice president at the office. And the fact that she was doing this as a VP, I was totally envious of. And I was like, so how do you do this? And she's like, nobody gets the reference. You're the first person here. And I was like, I'm old. Okay, I get that. I'm 42. I get that I'm on the older side of this. And she was like, because there's some days I want to be Jem. And she's like, and some days I dress as Jem when I really can't, I don't feel like I can be Jem, but I need to be Jem to get through the day. She's like, and then there's other days that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to deal with donors, so I'm gonna be Jerica today. And it was amazing to see. And I remember just being like, oh my God. And she's like, you're the first person that has figured out my secret. I'm like, well, you walk around with pink hair and an asymmetrical pink dress. It's not that much of a secret. But Jem is excitement. Jem is adventure. And so it was really interesting to me to see, I mean, the reality is when so many of us, when we go to work, when we were going into an office pre-COVID, like, you sort of put on a costume to go into work. You put on a costume to do respectability politics. So what happens when you get to you take the power and choose what it is that you decide that you wear? And I think that's a huge opportunity in the cosplay space. And I'm also like, are folks cosplaying now more that folks are at home?
I feel like I'm in I definitely feel like I'm in G.I. Joe Cobra cosplay because I have to wear a mask every time I go out. And it's so I'm either an average Joe who they didn't wear masks. The average Cobras always wore masks. And I guess it's a missed opportunity. We're not all wearing like blue shirts and suspenders. So totally should have gotten it done.
Some people are not going to know how to be a seamstress. Some people are not going to have the ability to make these stuff or make props or foam things. That's okay. That's normal, okay? I've been doing this for 10 years and I still can't do it. But you know what? I use techniques and I do something like, as a content creator, I was bad. But I did research and I studied. So I do the same thing. I look up YouTube and I study it. Even if it could be the simplest thing from a costume store or you make it, the point is that you're having fun, you are enjoying it, you have a smile on my face. Right now, I may have a mask with a smile on my face, but my God, I got the biggest smile right now because I have missed all of you for 2 years. Seriously, nothing, the amount of energy that I have is like so much and everything because I missed this. I missed being around this atmosphere. And I love each and every single one of you who took the time to just come here and support us. Joe is a unique individual who's done so much of the disability community. He's worked hard. Me and him are like peanut butter and chocolate. And no, I'm not saying peanut butter and jelly. We're peanut butter and chocolate together, okay? And I'm proud that I got to work with this man for 5 years. Dylan is a photographer. Despite any circumstances he had with his disability, he has taken and done creative things with what he's done with his photography, creating content, making these mashed-up cosplays. Rebecca and Patrick Coakley have the most interesting, funny kids that I got to meet today. But what they do for this community is, oh my God, it's a standing ovation that I would just applaud to them right now. Thank you so much for what you guys do. And as to Dean Newman from Magic Wheelchair, I've been proud to work with you guys since the very beginning, meeting your co-workers. And 2019, I was just so happy to see 2 kids get these amazing wheelchairs that I was honored to be part of and everything. So thank you to Magic Wheelchair for just coming with us right now. And oh
I
yeah,
can say one thing.
yeah, please.
I didn't realize the question. Yeah, no, I mean the cosplay. Like I tell people all the time, you can cosplay anytime, anywhere, anytime. They're like, oh, I can't go to Comic-Con because I don't have a cosplay. I'm like, you go into your dresser, and I'm sure you have clothes that match your favorite character, guaranteed. Just put it on, put on a little makeup, or not, and just come, and then people will get it if you're in the right environment, you know, for it. If it's your, you know, if it's something you're privy to, then people will understand it. And hopefully it'll make you know you feel better about it. But yeah, cosplay is not that hard. People think it's difficult. It's really not. Just you know, it's the character. I mean, the difference between method acting and just cosplaying. You know, there's some people think, oh, well, if you feel like you're the character all the time every day, then it's like too much and you're being like, you know, overboard. But I think that if there are parts of the character that you can take, that you use in your regular day life that makes you feel better, then do it, you know.
Okay, we're gonna start the Q&A. If we have anyone who wants to ask questions, please feel free to say what you need to say, and we will answer as clearly as we can. And I just want to give a shout out to my man Mark over here. He has been the cameraman, and he is also autistic. Thank you so much, man. So if anyone has any questions, please let us hear your voice, and please tell us anything on your mind.
Question. For the magic wheelchair, are you going to be teaming up with Pixelogic again?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you going to be teaming up with Pixelogic?
So hold on, I'll repeat just so in case anyone can't hear. So the question was if Magic Wheelchair will be teaming up with Pixelogic again?
Yeah, that's I'm not sure.
And now I need to give you the mic.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I don't know.
Well, if you're not going to team up with them, can you provide schematics for the wheelchairs? This way, people in the community can maybe send you some like models that maybe you can use.
Yeah, I mean that'd be awesome. I think having models for the chairs would be one of like the best things. I'm a builder, so I just work with a team and we make the chairs. So I'm not fully sure on that stuff. But what I can say is we do with the team that I work with, we do a lot of it in CAD. So having those models would be awesome.
If you give us your contact info after the panel, we can get we can reach out to we can give your feedback to the Magic Wheelchair rep that usually is here at the panel with us but isn't here with us this year, and he'd be able to give you a better answer.
All right.
Do we have anybody else who would like to ask a question? Please do not be shy. There is no such thing as a stupid question at all.
What's your favorite cosplay and how do you feel as you cosplay them?
Ooh, you want to take that one?
Okay, so there's this cosplay. It's a duet cosplay, and I mentioned it earlier. This Lock and Key cosplay. So in the comic, there's this character Kinsey, and there's this key that it's called the head key, and when you put it, it goes in the back of your head, and you can pull your emotions out of your head and your memories, and you can play with all kinds of different things. And inside Kinsey's head, there is her depression. Which are these it's her, but in a black shroud with pipes, and she's crying, and a sink handle on her back, and behind her is her fear and her anxiety, and it's this black creature with long, creepy fingers and red glowing eyes and a knife in its hand and newspaper around it, where it with headlines of all the trauma that she had just witnessed. And so me and Nancy do this cosplay. This is the cosplay that brought us together, where she does the depression side and I do the anxiety side. And having those big red glowing eyes and being able to just bring a comic character to life and be able to I feel like I'm able to bring my anxiety and give it a visualization. It's as well as depression, to bring that to life. It gives it a different take and allows me to express myself in such a unique way. And it's also really cool to see the creators' reactions.
Do you have one?
You want me to go or something? Okay, I really haven't spoken much, but sure. Well, my first cosplay ever was actually Super Saiyan Goku from Dragon Ball Z. That was my first cosplay, and the first time I cosplayed, I was 10 years old. I have an action figure that my mother and I, when I was 10, figured out how to make the costume from the figure. My mom is an amazing seamstress. She taught me how to sew. She taught me how to draw. She taught me how to do. Actually, she's the photographer in the family. I got it from her. So even though she's not a professional, but anyway, if you see her. So we made the costume when I was 10. And when I was 10, I was like a heavy set kid, in the disabled program in school, and and bullying and all that stuff. And I made the costume for the Halloween party, whatever, at my after-school program, where I learned martial arts because the martial art instructor for my after-school program was a super nerd, and because of him, I got into, Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff. So that's a whole connection. But the costume was made oversized because I was like a heavy kid, and now as an adult, it still fits me. Like, it's a little short. The shirt is a little short, but it's still basically the same. Like, it fits me like fitted. So it's like funny because the first time I came to Comic-Con I think it was 2013 or 14. I did that cosplay and everybody loved it. It was like it looked so good, and I had had it for so many years. So I would say that's my original cosplay. But the one that I'm in now is what I feel like as an adult, mostly identified with, just being like a free spirit type character. So.
Ooh, favorite cosplay for me would be what I'm wearing right now, me being Fat Gum, the BMI hero from My Hero Academia. I love it because this character, he's only been here for one season and he'll make an appearance in the upcoming movie, but he is a guy who is not, who you could be a plus size person, like he can fit both the categories of a skinny hero and a fat hero, depending on the situation. Mm-hmm. And he is so awesome and cool. If there's one thing I hate, it's probably the ranking system he's at. But overall, he's a badass character, and I am so proud to be wearing this right there and just be a good representation hero of the plus size everywhere. And especially in the cosplay community, I want to bring positivity no matter what size it is, okay? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you have one? Yes? Okay, sweetie.
So in my political life, I had friends that worked when we all were in the White House that threw a costume party. And the party was themed. And the theme was Muppets versus Tarantino. And it easily goes down as one of my favorite parties of the Obama years. And just such I don't know how they came up with that mix. I suspect some colleagues were drinking significantly and were like, what's the weirdest combination that we could have a themed Halloween party for? And some dice were rolled in some seedy room somewhere, and it was like, Muppets, Tarantino, let's do it. And so Patrick and I went as Fraggles. And easily the room was split 50-50, Muppets versus Tarantino characters, and it was like all the different Tarantino characters. It was characters that were dead, like corpses. There was two guys that were dressed up as the ghosts of Jules and Vincent, standing against the wall doing the little Tarantino dance that's now a GIF. You know, and then there was like somebody dressed up as Guy Smiley, the reporter on Sesame Street, you know, and like going around the room interviewing people. And it was the most fascinatingly like eclectic group of people, because it was also all people that worked in the Obama administration. And we had a standard rule that was like no photographs at any parties. But when I look back on that, like it was really interesting because it told you so much about the people. Like, who are Muppets people? Who are Tarantino people? What Muppet people are you? Are you Muppet Show people? Are you Fraggle Rock people? Are you Sesame Street people? You know, are you are you Labyrinth people? Are you Dark Crystal people? Because there was a Skeksis. You know, are you, what genre of Tarantino are you? What community are you ripping off by cosplaying which Tarantino film? You know, and it was it's just such a fascinating indicator of the kind of folks that you are and like the kind of folks you hang out with. And whenever I think about like my favorite cosplay moments, it's easily that one, because it's like you walked in the room and you were like, I wonder what everyone else is dressing up as. And like the doors open, you're just like, oh my, like sensory overload, but also it was just completely fascinating.
Nobody can buy me?
No, there weren't any hybrid. That would have been interesting.
I feel, yeah, I was gonna say.
A Kermit Fozzie.
I feel like a red, maybe like Red and Kermit or Red and Fozzie as Jules and Vincent is a missed opportunity. That would have been solid.
You had a.
Was there a question?
Yeah, cool. You had a question back there.
Alright, so I'd like to know how far are you willing to go? How far would you go for the cosplay? Like, would you go search for that wig, for the contact lens that bother you all day, or edit those photos to make it more spectacular? How far will you go?
I've seen your Instagram. How far are you willing to go?
So the question is, how far are we So the question is, how far are we willing to go for our cosplays?
I'm a details person.
He says things that were the best example.
I mean, I'm into I do all the details, you know. I'm a what's the word I'm looking for? Particular? No, like I'm particular about the details, you know. Like whenever I do anything. I mean, right now I'm kind of being lazy, but that's okay. But like, I usually have more stuff on. But like anyway, I have all the details. As you can see, I like details, you know. If you can't see in the back, I have like some props up here on the stage. So like, you know, I like to show off that like all the little things, you know, you forget about on a character. That's why this character is so cool, because he has so many little things that you can do, and people know, oh, you have the little bead from the thing, and the, you know. So people who are into the details, you know, connect about details. It's, you know.
As for me, by the way, that was a very good question. Thank you for asking. It all depends on, sometimes it's a budget thing, but for me, I don't have to get everything exactly, but if I get anything similar close to it, like right now, this isn't the actual gloves that he wears. These are Nike gloves, but the point is they're orange. It gives a certain shade. This I got from Amazon. This outfit that I'm wearing that's Fat Gum related is actually a gym/cosplay suit from Just Saying. That's the name of the organization, Just Saying. You can cosplay, but you can also work out in this at the same time. Best of both worlds, right? I swear, I get complimented all the time in the gym when I dress up as someone from My Hero Academia or Vegeta or the Almighty Vegeta, which is a crossover of Almighty Vegeta. Crazy. But the point is, you gotta make use with you gotta think about the budgeting. You don't have to have everything perfect as long as you try and have fun out of it. So.
What about photoshopping your photos?
Well, I'm going to answer the previous question first. So I have revised costumes time and time again, and there'll always be. It's a costume in an artist's eyes. A piece of art tends to never be perfect. There's always going to be flaws, but you could pick which flaws you want, that you're willing to accept. And that goes with life as well. And it's just general life advice. Now, you were going to say...
you want to know about Photoshop? I can answer that question.
So, photoshopping photos. I'll say right off the bat, I tend to not use Photoshop in my photos. However, I am a photographer and a light painter, so I do a lot of light painting, which is an experimental form of photography. And there's not many of us out there, so that's a little bit different and unique. But Dylan can answer.
He's the best person for photo editing. He didn't mind.
Well, I mean, I've spent a lot of time honing my skills in Photoshop because I like the editing process. You know, it focuses me, and there's a lot of things you could tell I'm very all over the place. So, but when I can sit for like 20 hours and edit, I can edit I can edit like 1,000 photos like in a day, when most photographers take a month. Like if I shoot Comic-Con, I'll have this up by Wednesday. Like, he knows, I work with this guy, he's good. And so thank you for coming, by the way. And so like, I don't mess around with that stuff. I love it. It's my bread and butter. But to answer your question, whether I want the detail real in the photo or put it in post, it depends on the situation. So if there's a cosplayer that doesn't have the piece and it's like, oh man, I really need this thing in there, I'll put it in post. But a lot of times I'll use my environment instead of photoshopping the background and just put the effects on top to front, and it sort of matches up perfectly in my experience. So.
And I kind of want to jump back because we were talking about cosplay that we've done. I think my favorite one was a couple of cons ago. I did like 10th Doctor. And it was sort of more like 10th Doctor reference. But, I had like all the trappings, I had trench, I had my sonic screwdriver. Yeah, appreciate it for the doctor. Cheer for the doctor. But what I thought was cool was the feelings that go along with it. Because cosplay does affect you internally, I think, as well as externally. If you really are into the Doctor and you walk around dressed as the Doctor, everything becomes a ridiculously interesting, quirky experience. You find yourself sort of like interacting through the universe like that. Our dear colleague that's dressed as Harley Quinn has not put her shoes on the floor once. And that's awesome, because Harley doesn't sit like that. She would stretch out. Exactly. Like it does change you internally. And I think there's something awesome about picking characters that make you feel good. As well as sometimes picking characters that might make you feel powerful, or might make you, if you want to hide, make you be able to hide. Like, those feelings are awesome. I've been toying around actually with this Bishop cosplay that I haven't been able to pull together yet. All of our stuff is in storage because we're moving. But the thing that I wanted to do with it is I love this idea of heroes hiding in plain sight. So a lot of it that I'm trying to pull together for it is things that you could actually cobble together from other space. It wouldn't be his actual like leather suit and like his long flowy cape, but how would that translate? Maybe a red hoodie, maybe combat boots, maybe an Xavier t-shirt because he goes there to go to school. But whatever it is, even the details, like we said, of the suits, the feelings that you get will be just as real, even if the outside isn't quite where you want it to be yet.
I was going to just say one thing. I remember watching this guy at AwesomeCon in DC a few years ago, who was dressed up as Rufio.
Oh yeah, Rufio.
And literally could not walk down a hall without every time everyone was like Rufio.
I did it, and I didn't even know I was going to do it.
Like at one point, he was just like kind of just like, he looked like he was bummed. Like he was sitting there looking at his phone, and he was kind of just like whatever. And you heard all these little kids like going Rufio, all like stands up straight, like shakes it off, and was like a huge ass like badass smile. Yeah. And I was like, that totally makes your day, doesn't it? He's like, you have no idea.
That was also the first year that the Black Panther cosplay had started to come out. And being a young black kid who loved comics, and my dad's passed, but my dad would have loved Black Panther. And there was like one dude dressed as Black Panther at AwesomeCon that year, and almost every young black kid and every old black kid actually came up and talked to him. And because of that, he had to be T'Challa that day. He had to be the king. And it's like, that's the awesome thing about cosplay, like those feelings and those things you can put on yourself.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Patrick. Real quick, we're going to take one more question, but before we do that, this is a little trick that Patrick has taught me, is to take a picture of the audience at every panel that we speak at. So
I can't. My kids have my camera. Children have our phones. You guys take pictures.
Take a picture of the draw.
Oh, yeah, so your question in the orange.
So have you guys noticed that there's, in cons in general, if you've been to many, or even if this is your first one, do you find that you're seeing a lot more, disability or alternate ability like representation, and do you see it going even farther in the future?
Short answer is yes. Long answer is yes. ReadPop has us here at this panel, and this is the 5th year in a row where we're doing it. And over the past 5 years that we've been doing it, we've seen them add a LGBTQ room. We've seen them add a quiet room. We've seen them add all these different resources. So yeah, absolutely. If you look at things like Lock and Key, the comic has a character with a disability, and in the show, that character is represented by an actor who has a disability. We're seeing that we're seeing more and more accessibility and acceptance and inclusion in real life and in comics and in society, and that's a huge, huge deal. So yeah.
Do you want to jump on that one?
I was just gonna say more is always better.
Yeah.
I definitely, and I think there is, our people show up in these spaces. Like one of my biggest gripes is when I come to cons and I see organizations that are run by non-disabled people that in some cases actually cause harm to disabled people have a booth. And I pick up the phone and I call my friends that are disabled folks that run organizations, and I'm like, why the hell aren't you at the cons? Do you not realize that is where our people are? Right. And instead, like, they're meeting groups that do electroshock on kids. Instead, like, that's the representation in these spaces versus organizations that are run by us and for us. And that's actually where I really want to, like, I see our people coming to these spaces, but I want to see our organizations show up and sponsor rooms and sponsor gatherings and get-togethers. I mean, I work for the Ford Foundation, and I can already imagine having a conversation with New York Comic Con next year and saying, what can we do a reception? What is it that we can do to help actually bring together community in an informal way? And so I'm seeing definitely more of it, but I think that there is always the possibility for even greater engagement.
Because I'd love to see an alternate abilities photo shoot for everybody's ideas of costumes.
Yes.
As I mentioned before, NYCCsurvey.com. Put that info, put it there, and then the day after the show, or it might even be Sunday. New York Comic Con every year sends out an email saying, "Hey, give us feedback for the show. Do it. Give that feedback. Tell while you're walking around, tell the staff members there, these are the people that you want to talk to and give those ideas to. Give information to."
If I may too, also put in suggestions and requests for systems and for workshops. I mean, we got really lucky with AwesomeCon in DC because no one had made any suggestion of a conversation around disability in comics, and so when we put it in, they were like, "Okay, do you guys want to do it?" And we're like, "You're gonna let me talk about my opinion on comics in front of people?"
And the other thing you could always do is apply to create that, to do that, or that either run the panel yourself, or do that meetup yourself. There's nothing stopping.
I'd love to have somebody have a panel on how to accessorize your wheelchair, or your alternate ability.
Talk to also talk to us after the panel.
Yeah, definitely. So we should definitely use this. Like Joe was saying, use this as an opportunity to build your network.
On that note, we do have to wrap up, and I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank the rest of the panelists who are normally here, who weren't able to make it because of the pandemic, and I want to especially thank ReadPop for having us here. Because that's for have it 5 years in a row. It warms my heart, and to me, it's mind blowing and it's unbelievable to me. Like, yeah. Thank you.
I just want to add one last word. It's not a disability, it's a superpower. Get it right.
I need some motherfucking views. I need some motherfucking views.